Hey everybody! Hopefully, how you guys doing on this Saturday? So I was putting this together, and I had a couple extra teams on here that I had to take off because they have officially now been eliminated from playoff contention. I had here because I wanted to look at where, with just a couple games left, where the races currently are for the wild card spots in the East and the West. And I had four teams on the East, on the Eastern side, that still had a chance to make the playoffs that now have both officially been eliminated, and that was both New York teams. I had the Rangers and the Islanders. They have now both officially been eliminated from playoff contention. So there's only two teams in the East that could potentially catch Montreal. But what I wanted to look at first is over here at the West. Now, the only team that still has a chance to knock out, to move up into a playoff spot is Calgary. But the two teams that currently hold the wild card spots in the Western Conference, they both have played 80 games. It's both Minnesota and St. Louis. Minnesota has the number one wild card spot right now because of they have two more regulation wins than St. Louis. They both have an identical record. They both are 43, 30, and 7. 93 points, a 581 points percentage. Both tied, but Minnesota has 33 regulation wins. St. Louis has 31. So that's why Minnesota is the number one wild card right now. And of course, I have on the sides here are the teams that are currently in these are the matchups as of right now. They're not official, obviously, but these are the teams that so far would be in. And Calgary, they've played 79 games, and they beat Minnesota last night in regulation, which definitely did not help Minnesota's cause. Calgary has played 79 games. They have a record of 38, 27, and 14. Boy, those 14 overtime, those 14 losses in overtime are a shootout. Wow, do those look kind of massive right now for Calgary. So they're at 90 points. They have a 570 points percentage, and they have won 29 games in regulation. Now, so being that Minnesota and St. Louis, they both have 80 games, and I believe, let me look real quick, being I have my laptop here. Let me check and see here. Go to the scores, because Minnesota and St. Louis both play today. And I think Minnesota can get in with a win. I think if Minnesota wins, I think they can get in. St. Louis, I mean, there's clinching possibilities here. The Wild are in Vancouver, and St. Louis is in Seattle. So they're both playing tonight. Calgary does not play tonight because they played last night. They played Minnesota last night. So, the Wild and St. Louis, they both control their own destiny here. I mean, if they can both win, it would basically take it could basically knock Calgary out, and you would see the Western Conference all locked up. But right now, Calgary is only 3 points behind both St. Louis and Minnesota. So it is entirely possible. And I don't think this would happen to St. Louis. Minnesota, absolutely, I think this could happen to. Because it's Minnesota. When it comes to sports, our luck is just absolute dog crap. Now, is it entirely possible Minnesota loses their last 2 games and Calgary somehow wins their last 3? It wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me in the least, because Calgary, let's see here. Calgary's last 3 games, let's see. Calgary plays their home against San Jose on Sunday. Then they don't play on Monday. What about Tuesday? So Calgary plays San Jose tomorrow. They're home against Vegas on Tuesday, which is definitely not an easy game to play. Then they would wrap up. I believe they would wrap up their season technically then on Thursday, who then they play LA. So a couple of tough games for Calgary, and that's the end of the regular season is on Thursday. So a couple of tough games for Calgary. Is it possible that they could sneak into a playoff spot? It's possible, but I don't know if that could actually happen. But it's there. It's there. The possibility is there, and I guess, do I think they're gonna? I don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. I think Minnesota and St. Louis are probably going to end up being the wild card teams, or the two wild card teams. It just depends on number 1 wild card and number 2 wild card. So that's the possibility there. Calgary, it's an outside shot, but they still have a shot. That's why they're still there. They haven't been eliminated yet. They still have a chance because they have the 1 game in hand on both St. Louis and Minnesota. We move over to the Eastern Conference. You have now. This to me is an even more longer shot, because Ottawa's already clinched a playoff spot. That's why I'm wearing Ottawa. They made the playoffs for the first time since 2017. Good going for the Ottawa Senators. I wish them a lot of luck in the playoffs. It's looking like they're probably going to end up playing Toronto, which that'll be fun. That will be a lot of fun. But Montreal is not clinched yet. They can clinch tonight also, because I don't think, and they don't play tonight. They don't play tonight, but I think, let's see, does Detroit play tonight? Or let's see, because Columbus won, so Columbus still has an outside shot. Which, let me look here. Columbus, where does that point them points wise? Okay, Columbus, yeah, that's right. Columbus, they played 79 games. They're 37, 33, and 9. They have 83 points. That is a .525 points percentage, 27 regulation wins. So they still have an outside chance. So does Detroit, even though it's even... And I honestly don't know how Detroit really has not been eliminated yet, because they have 3 games left. The most points that Detroit can, because they haven't updated this on the web on the NHL site yet. They have not put the E next to Detroit. Oh, that's why. Oh, there's why. I did that wrong. And let me make sure everything else is right. Yeah, everything else is right. Okay. Yeah, that's why Detroit is still there, because I had Montreal at 89 points. Montreal does not have 89 points. They have 87. That's why Detroit is not mathematically eliminated yet. So it is entirely possible. And again, it's a long shot, but it's entirely possible with Columbus winning today, winning big, by the way. They're only 4 points out. They're only 4 points out of being able to catch Montreal. Detroit, it's even a longer shot for Detroit. Detroit is 6 points back. Literally, for Detroit to even catch Montreal would have to lose out, and Detroit would have to win out. But that's also not saying that, because then Columbus would have to, Detroit would need a lot of help. Detroit would need a lot of help. They would have to win their last 3 games, and basically the other 2 teams, Columbus and Montreal, would basically have to collapse. So I don't see Detroit getting there. I think Columbus is going to come up just a little short. I think Montreal is going to be the team that's going to get that second wild card spot. And it's been a great season for Columbus, but I think they're going to come up a little short. And Montreal 39, 31, 9, 87 points, 551 points percentage, 29 wins in regulation. Of course, Columbus 37, 33, and 9, 83 points, 525 points percentage, 27 regulation wins, which regulation wins are the first tiebreaker, I believe. There's a points percentage. It might be points percentage, but regulation wins is either the first or the second tiebreaker. And Detroit, 37, 35, and 7, 81 points, a 513 points percentage, 28 regulation wins. So Detroit has one more regulation win than Columbus does. But Columbus, they have 2 less losses, regulation losses, but 2 more overtime or shootout losses. So there's your point spread, basically, is the regulation the regulation losses or the shootout, the overtime losses. So even though it's a long shot, Calgary still has a chance. It's an outside chance, but it's there. They're not mathematically eliminated. The same with Columbus and Detroit. They all still mathematically have a chance to get into a playoff spot, but there a lot of things got to fall their way. It's them having to win their remaining games, but then having help from the other teams playing from their opponents and stuff like that. So I do think we know the 16 teams. It's just the math is still there for Calgary, Columbus, and Detroit. I don't think they get in. I really don't, but that's what makes this fun. It makes it fun to get to this point of the season where teams, they're not as close as they were like a week ago, but they're still mathematically alive. Let me know in the comments, though. Do you think Calgary somehow finds their way into a playoff spot? And if they do, who do they knock out? Is it Minnesota or St. Louis that they're able to knock out? If you think Calgary can get in. Over in the East, which team, either Detroit or Columbus, do you think it's possible one of those 2 teams knocks Montreal out of that wild card spot? Let me know in the comments what you think. I would love to know your opinions. And yeah, we're getting down to the wire here. End of the regular season is this upcoming Thursday. And yeah, it's getting down toward my favorite time of the year. And yeah, I just, when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, I get like a little kid. I'm like, yeah, I love the Stanley Cup playoffs. It is my favorite time of the year. And yeah, so let me know your opinions. Which of these teams do you think could potentially knock out the wild card teams? And which one do you think could happen? Do you think Columbus could potentially knock out Montreal, or do you think Detroit could be the team that finds their way in? And in the West, does Calgary somehow find their way in? And who do they take out? Let me know your opinions in the comments section. Hit that like button. That would be absolutely fabulous. It helps the algorithm on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. That would be fantastic. I would love you very much for that. Hit that notification bell to be notified anytime future videos are uploaded. Also, share the video. Share this video. Share any video from the channel that you'd like. Share that with your friends, with your family, with everybody that you know. Share it with anybody that you don't know. And yeah, if there's anybody that loves hockey content, that loves hockey in general, let them know about the channel. So yeah, just thought I would give a little look-see on that with just a few games to go. And there it is. Let me know who do you think potentially could get knocked out, or do the wild card teams stay the same? Let me know in the comments. And so like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll see you guys later.